Discord, and his 9 or 10-year-old was watching Coooley, like the Coooley stream, and you know, I gave him a shout out because his dad told me it was his birthday, and I was like, all right, man, you know, gave a special shout out to him. And he sent me a picture after with him opening his presents, and he was wearing shades like me. And I was like, wow, dude, like that was touching, man. I was like, that's you know, because nice. you get up there, you're just a streamer, you know, you're just make. Dude, just imagine in D4 right now, simple change that could make it so that PvP is actually valuable. That's all right. Yeah, you can stand.
So in our deep dive, right?
I enjoyed the deep dive so much.
Oh my god.
About Diablo 4, I know one thing to do. I'm gonna dive in to the dark side of this and show what people are doing outside of the game. And by that I mean what people are selling items for real money. Like what do these actually go for from JSP that would blatantly break TOS from, you know, with Blizzard. But that was very early on, and you know, the site is trade an item, you can't trade it, right? It no longer has any outside value because you can't get rid of it. Let's jam it. Did I make it? There's a lot of bodies on the wall there. There's a certain level of toxicity that you can feed off from, right? It was a taboo topic, man. That's a great question. Yeah, it can be, man. Like, you know, it can be pretty toxic. I was actually afraid of that when I started streaming because I knew that I was a PvP player, and I was like, man.
Let's look at the universe's advice for you.
All right, these are getting way more provocative every time. I'm not gonna lie. This is.
Lilith, please behave. Honestly, what the fuck?
Yeah, Jesus, man. We can discuss the details later. All right. Jesus. Wow.
He's uncontrollable.
All right, but no, that's all right. Yeah, you can stand here though. That's
so in our deep dive, right?
I enjoyed the deep dive so much.
Oh my god. All right. We discovered something interesting.
She's out of control.
One of your videos, you investigated the Diablo trading site, right? D2jsp. We spoke about it before. A forum post even mentioned you consulted the legal team to make sure D2jsp wasn't a violation of like Blizzard's rules. Can you tell us how like that all came about? Were you worried about breaking terms of service, or are you just covering the info for the community?
Oh my god, I was talking about this with some people in my Discord the other day, and like the story of me making content specifically for that video and like surrounding JSP. And I already knew before I started making videos that JSP was not talked about. And in case anyone doesn't know, like D2JSP is a website that, I mean, you can tell by the name, it kind of started with Diablo 2. It did start as with rather nefarious intentions, I think. Like early on, there was, you know, there was like programs that you could get from JSP that would blatantly break TOS from, you know, with Blizzard. But that was very early on, and you know, the site is very different than what it used to be now. But it definitely started up differently. And but now it's a site where a lot of Diablo 2 players get their items and execute trades through the website. And they use an on-site currency called Forum Gold, which you can buy it from the site. I would go as far as to say most players don't. You can trade your items in game for Forum Gold on the site, and then you get Forum Gold. You can get other items with that Forum Gold. So that's kind of what it is. But it was a taboo topic, man. That was when I first got into content creation, I was like, I'm gonna make Diablo 2 stuff, and I told myself, I said, and I'm not gonna be scared of JSP. I use JSP, and I'm like, if people, it is who I am. It's how I play. I've got some of my items through JSP before, and I'm not going to be scared of it. Like, if people don't like me because of that, whatever. Like, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, I was like, this is my Diablo 2. This is how I play. And Mr. Llama was never talking about it. Dobrunsky didn't talk about it. I think Eximus was the only one that I ever really heard mention anything about it. And it was some feud that he had in the forums with someone on JSP. But either way, like, no one talked about it. So I was like, you know what? In the spirit of doing something unique that nobody talks about, I was like, I kind of want to do something surrounding JSP. And I knew it before I even started making my first video. I was like, I think eventually, you know, I want to talk about this. So I was like, how do you go about this? Like, how do you dive into this topic and break down myths and the things that haters are going to say that people, you know, and all of this? How do you give like a non-biased as a JSP user? How do you actually look at this? And I was like, you know what? Like, I could sit here and argue all day that JSP is not against terms of service. Even if you can loosely tie it to the terms of service, no one has ever been banned for using JSP on Diablo 2. No one.
That's awesome.
So like in practice, it seems as though it's allowed, because if no one stops you, then how can it be ban worthy? Like, you know what I mean? Like how is it against TOS if no one's ever going to stop you for it? Well, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But there's been people that claim they got banned from using JSP, but that's not correct. They got banned for botting. They got banned for using mods. They claim they got banned for JSP. That's not the case. But either way, I wanted to figure out definitively. I was like, I kind of want to put out a video that has an answer where I kind of look into this more than most people would. And in my life, especially, like I told you, I was, you know, I got accepted into law school, had a big, you know, interest in that, but I wasn't a lawyer. I was like, I never went. So, but I was like, I know some people, and I reached out to a friend, and I was just like, okay, man, here's the thing. Can you break this down to me? And like, I kind of want to give, I told him what the deal was. I was like, I kind of want to give a perspective from someone who is a lawyer. This isn't a legal contract, but, you know, I was like, just look at it as though you're picking this apart for the words that it says. And here's what I'm doing. These are my actions. This is what I'm doing. And he looked at it and, you know, he basically said, are you exchanging real currency for, you know, what you're buying? And I was like, no. And, you know, he's like, are you selling one of your in-game items for real currency? Like, is there any way that this can easily be turned into real currency? Like, is it a liquid asset? Like, that's very easily, and all the answers were no. And so he's like, then based on what's written here, you're not breaking TOS, but he goes, here's a caveat. Blizzard also reserves the right to ban you for whatever reason they want. So he's like, take that for what it is. You know, he's like, Blizzard can just do whatever they want. He's like, that's also in here. So he goes, you know, Blizzard just could see a stream of yours and not like you and ban your account. They could just randomly select somebody each month and ban them. So he goes, it's kind of written in their favor regardless. But he says, as far as citing a reason for you selling anything, he's like, that it would be a mistake to ever cite that based on this TOS. He's like, because if based on what you're telling me and what you're saying, it's not happening. You know, like, so I said, theoretically then, all right, like this is even by TOS, this is allowed. In practice, it's allowed. You know, no one's being banned for this. In practice, it's allowed based on someone who's far better at looking at these things than me. It doesn't appear to be explicitly banned. And so therefore, I'm like, you can come to the conclusion that if you're worried about breaking TOS, while you can get banned for anything for any reason, doesn't appear as though explicitly this thing in particular. And I went even further. I actually reached out and sent an email to, what was it, like customer support or something like that. I forget. It was like a ticket that I submitted through Blizzard. And I was like, if I use the website D2jsp and trade for forum gold, are you going to ban my account? Like very, very straight out, just ask them. And the response that I got back was esoteric, and you could tell probably the person behind the keyboard wanted to say more, but they couldn't. They said, As a reminder with TOS, if you ever exchange items for real currency, then that is something that is against the TOS and could be punishable by a ban, a suspension of your account or whatnot. But he made sure to put an emphasis around real currency. And I was like, okay, so this is, if I'm reading between the lines, then you're also saying this is okay. Like, this is not a real currency. And I clarified, I'm like, real currency, like US dollars, or yes, that's correct. So I'm like, well, here we go. Like, this is all the proof, all the evidence that any reasonable person might need to hear to be like, this is not against TOS. Like, so here we are. And then even
Your
in
head
practice to this
smells
day,
so good.
yeah, that's it shouldn't smell like anything. All right. That's CeraVe. That's some scentless shit. So whatever you're smelling up there, I think your perfume rubbed off in the bathroom. All right. As I'm going to say that. All right. I didn't want to out you like that, Lilith, but we were getting a little close in there. So it's you, my dear. You smell good. So thank you. I like her, man. I think your audio might be off again too. Yep, yeah, I see it. But yeah, man. So to finish that up, that whole
He's
video
upset
too was about
I've left him for you.
That could be it. Like, you could have. I think you really pit. I hope I'm not causing any trouble between you two. You know, but if I am, it's definitely worth it. Okay, definitely worth it. I might make another bathroom trip here in a little bit, just for. Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. And I ain't paying you no goddamn $350 either. All right, I know you was talking about that. I ain't paying you no $350. All right, we'll work out another price. Oh, was my audio still on?
I'm here. Dude, you're like legit talking over your shoulder to.
Yeah, I was talking with Lilith there. I thought I muted my mic, man.
It looks so funny.
Yeah.
Lilith, come back to Puppy. There you go. See, nice and loyal. All right. Okay. All right. Where were we? This is so interesting because we were talking a bit about like doing this for TCM, right? So we were like full brainstorming this stuff, man. We would have like Crimson Relics, and why it's relics is so it doesn't sound like a currency, right? It's trading gear for gear, and basically, like you get relics like per month as a club member, but you can never buy them or anything like that. So it's never real money or anything like this, but it's a way to at least put that in, and maybe you get some like community stuff, right? Maybe you're talking. The main thing as well is with the overlay, once we kind of work on it a bit more, maybe when you're in a group, you're in like a TCM group through the overlay, even if you're playing separate games, because this is a problem we want to solve. Everyone's playing different games these days. Like your friend's playing D3, he's playing D4, this one's playing PoE, this one's playing D2, he's playing Last Epoch, this guy's playing Elden Ring, that guy's playing Counter-Strike, fucking this guy's on Star Wars, who knows, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to build like a way where you can party across games. So you're still in a party, you can kind of do that on Discord already, right? But you're gaining experience together. So basically, you're in the party, you're playing all these different games, and you're like gaining experience for something together. And I think if we can just figure that out and then tie some type of in-game currency towards it, we might have something like really, really special, because there is that fragmentation in the gaming community right now. There's so many games, everybody's playing something different. How can we keep people playing together even on different games, So it's an interesting one.
This is something that JSP has essentially tried with other games, but none are as successful. I don't think really is D2. It doesn't bring like the weight that D2 brings to it. But here's the funny thing is if you ever go on d2jsp.org, like the website looks like it was designed in the fucking 90s and never got updated.
Yeah.
Like it's still like a forum, it's still like a forum site and shit. And like it's so crazy. And like the funny thing is though, is it tells you that the very concept of having something like that is extremely valuable to gamers. So like there's just never been any other site that has dared to like try to emulate that in some way, like, or replicate that, and say, okay, let's do something with like site credits, as long as, based on my research, as long as whatever you're talking about, whatever you're trading is not very liquid and is not easily turned into cash, or cannot, is so many steps removed from being considered a real currency, like, you're fine. Like, that's allowed. And honestly, the best way to do it, like, just imagine D2 trading and what it would be without something like JSP, or without outside tools to help you trade. It's just, the trading would barely exist. Like, same could really be said for D4.
And I think with our kind of, because we're new, we got heaps of energy. We want to come in. We want to do heaps of stuff. We're just like getting started. We can put so much into it. You could be using those credits like really dynamically across lots of games, through the overlay, through the website, through the Discord bot, through the Twitch bot. Like, essentially, now that we have the whole supporter system with the content creators, dude, we could even create like a streamer currency, to be honest, where, like, let's say we have these little games like the Canon one that we'll play later. Maybe you're getting these points, and then like you play the game on your stream and people are getting the points for that as well, and then they can like spend it somewhere somehow. Like, this is, I'm just brainstorming stuff lately. So, and what's interesting, right, is I understand currency pretty well. As I said, like, basically most of my professional life now is kind of like in banking. So
yeah,
I'm kind of thinking, like digital currencies. I don't like crypto. And I think crypto overcomplicates everything for absolutely no reason. That's just my personal stance on it. Maybe people will hunt me down for that. But when I'm buying like a skin on League of Legends or some shit, I'm still paying like $20 and getting the skin. I don't need that $20 to be in the form of crypto, so it makes the skin worth more in my mind. Like, I just don't see that as a real thing.
Crypto was valuable when it was Bitcoin, and it had a real niche case when it was used on the dark web. And anything that's not
criminal,
anytime crypto is used for some non-illegal means, I'm like, well, that was pointless.
Yeah,
like,
and like, there's some argument where it's like, oh, but crypto can do transactions faster on some of them, like Solana and all that. But it's like, dude, you realize that the reason it takes a bank to send money to your account is not because it takes time for the message to go through the internet to you because the transaction is slow. It's because they have to go through several regulatory kind of flows and understand all of the different foreign exchange rates, etc., etc. So they know it's not like dirty money, etc., right? If you have all of that with crypto, it's not going to be faster. It's going to be slower because there's extra work to move crypto. When you're moving just digital numbers from bank account to bank account, if you cut out all of the kind of regulations and, let's say, the Swift network checks and all of that, it's literally just an internet request. It can't go like, it's as fast as the internet itself. There is no such thing as this cryptocurrency is going to speed up the transactions of XYZ. Maybe if you're bypassing like all of the rules and regulations of countries and their currencies, it could be faster because you don't have to go through that. But banks already also just kind of put their money into your account and then pay the bank later, right? So they make it instant anyway. Like, who the hell? When's the last time you were like transferring money from one account to another at a store, and you had to stand there and wait 5 minutes for it to come? It just doesn't happen anymore. It goes in there instantly.
Yeah. It's like I said, I mean, my official stance on crypto is like, yes, there is a use for it, but it is an illegal use. Like, that is the best thing that crypto could possibly be used for. There is definitely a use for it. But as soon as people start talking about anything that is not that, I'm just like, you have unreasonably complicated the purchasing process here. Like, you know,
100%. Right.
that's how it really all started, was like the
And
dark
it's
web
dodgy.
and Bitcoin. Like, that's it. Couldn't
Like,
tell what your
because
money was being spent on.
yeah, because it's also like always used on the dark web and for just criminal activity. Like the only times I have tried to do anything with crypto, I just got straight up scammed. Like it was only a couple $100 or whatever, but you know,
Yeah.
that was my like somebody tells me, "Hey, I prefer you to pay me in crypto." I'm like, "Why don't you want PayPal?" "Oh, I don't have PayPal. PayPal doesn't work in my country." "All right, I'll send you crypto then. Here's crypto." And then they disappear, you know? And it's
Yep.
like, well, that I guess that's what crypto is for. You can just disappear. Because if you tell me, all right, I'm gonna buy your house, but I'm gonna pay you in 20 Bitcoin, while Bitcoin is probably maybe like the safest one these days, I'd still be like, how about you just send me the money to my bank account? You know,
Yeah,
like,
right.
and then if I want, I'll buy the crypto coins. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's an
it's a
interesting
little
one.
rough. And
Uh,
in case anybody was wondering, Max was ordering food for Lilith, we're gonna call it, all right, and that's what he needed the crypto transaction for, okay,
yeah.
and the dark web, all right, food for Lilith. Gotta feed that gal, man.
Feed me.
All right.
That's right. That's
So
what it is. She's a hungry
basically,
one.
okay. On the Blizzard note, right? So you said you kind of spoke to them about patches and stuff. Like, do they approach you much officially for promotions, kind of guidance on what they're doing? How closely do you work in general with game developers? Is it only Blizzard? Has GGG spoken to you? What about 11th Hour Games, like the last Epoch team?
They haven't. None have really reached out to me for like advice or anything, which is kind of good, because I would probably tell them that I don't want to give it to them per se. Like, especially with regards to like making a game better or whatnot. I just don't believe it's my place, or really any content creator's place, to like tell a developer how to make their game. Just like make a game in the spirit of how you see it, you know, being good, and I'll either play it or won't. Like, you know, that's fine. But it's funny, man. Funny story about being approached by Blizzard with stuff. Like, man, one of my most popular shorts that's out there on my channel is one that is Diablo 4 based, and it's the one where I reached level 60 in 20 seconds. It was actually like 11 seconds, and from level 1 to 60, and funny video. But you might see in that short that it's tagged with a paid promotion tag, and it might not make any sense. Like, was this a mistake? Like, there's nothing that you're selling me in this video. And hilarious story behind that, man. There was actually supposed to be a larger form video. Blizzard did approach me, and we were like working for Coooley to do the Coooley style Diablo 4 video, which I was honored, to be working with Blizzard for that. Things didn't work out, and the long form video didn't actually end up being released, but I so wish it was, man. Like, it was actually really cool, because you know me, I don't like to make content that other people I don't like to just do cookie cutter stuff. Blizzard, I figured they were approaching me because they wanted that Coooley style video of something that was very watchable and very interesting that had to do with Diablo 4. And I was like, all right, well, how much creative freedom do I have? And like, at first it was like, all right, like, you have your creative freedom, but we'll review it and see. Well, the topic that I wanted to dive into, which I think would have been an incredible topic to get people into Diablo 4, that might not have been interested in it. I was like, if I'm going to do this any justice and get people excited about Diablo 4, I know one thing to do. I'm going to dive in to the dark side of this and show what people are doing outside of the game. And by that,
Okay.
I mean what people are selling items for real money. Like, what do these actually go for? Like, how is the Diablo 4 currency, like, it's gold? How is it like, its own crypto, essentially, like in the black market? And so what I did was, I made this video where that was the selling point of it. That was the key theme of the video. I was like, this is definitely against TOS, and I'm going to go out of my way to like say that. And I did in the video, like, just as a warning, you should never sell anything for real money. This is against TOS, and here it is. Like, but some people don't care about TOS, and then just like go in and saying like, I was going to show off graphs of like Diablo 4 gold, and I had graphs of like the actual value of it over a season compared to like the real US dollar. And I was like, this is extremely interesting. And then I was going to go into it because they wanted me to like plug the new, the new expansion and stuff. And I was like, I could show off, all the places to get, best places to get gold, the best places to get these items, which have also sold for, ridiculous money, and just dive into the dark side of it. And it was so funny because we were under a time crunch. We had to get it out at a certain time. And like due to stuff that was kind of outside of Blizzard's control, I was working with my management team at the time, and they were kind of negotiating that contract and negotiating all the differences. And they, I don't want to point fingers, but things could have been handled faster there, and we could have probably met a deadline. But by the time I got the message that they said, we like the video, but can you please take out the pieces where you're talking about RMT?
The whole video.
I was like, well, that's kind of a crucial component of the story. And I was like, I don't just want to put out a video saying, look where you can farm all the gold in Diablo 4, and look where you can farm these items in Diablo 4 with zero context. Like, I was like, it kind of changes the entire video, and like the entire theme, like, rests on the fact that people know that this is being sold for real money. And I was like, this is something I don't see these other content creators talking about. This is something, it's a very interesting topic. But they were actually, they approached me, and they were going to do, they were going to do a paid promotion for Diablo 4 through Coooley. I was very honored to be approached by that, and I was really looking forward to it. But they didn't like the Coooley video at the end of it. So, but what they did do, to go back to the short, was this fight, loved Blizzard, loved working with them. They were like, well, how about this? Like, we'll we understand that didn't work out, and we see that you put the effort into the video and stuff, and so there was going to be a short that comes along with it. How about like we'll still reimburse you for like the short, and we'll give you this much. How about that? And then, I mean, it turned out to be one of the most popular shorts ever. What's that?
They didn't pay you for the main one?
No. And it makes sense. Like, you're paying me for a service to like release a video about this. So if it doesn't actually get released and you don't approve it, it makes sense that you wouldn't pay for it.
Oh, so they told you can't release it?
Well, they didn't say
that's what you said at the start, right?
Yeah, they were like, we just want you to change the part where you're talking about RMT, so based on the time limit and everything, I declined. So I was like, I won't change that, because it's just going to be so much more work to redo this. I'm going to have to rethink about how to tell the story. And I was like, and based on our time limit, B, I don't think I have enough time to do that. So yes, it was me declining to change the video. And I was like, yeah, I was like, it's nothing against you guys. I was like, I just don't think I have enough time to rework this and to redo this. And it's kind of a big blow to, the whole point of that video. But, and they understood. They're actually like super understanding. And, I actually offered, and this is what, props to Blizzard, because I actually offered to just still release. I was like, I still think the short is cool. If you guys don't mind, I'll just probably release that. And they actually offered to just reimburse me in a little bit for the, in a lesser amount for the short itself, and turned out to be like one of the most popular Diablo shorts of that time as well. And like, I think even now it's sitting around like 800,000 views, and it's like, it's crazy. It was very well done. Like, I was proud of it. I was like, this is a crazy idea that no one does. Like, but
like,
yeah, I was honored. So yeah, they did approach me.
Release it anyway, like without them paying for it, right? I thought like that's kind of where you were going with, like, oh, I just kind of released it anyway. than the short they paid
I
for.
almost did. But then here was the other thing is like there was another part that I didn't necessarily like doing without a paid promotion. And that was, kind of, I wouldn't say over glorifying Diablo 4, but like, there was pieces of it that I was like, well, if I'm going to do it without a paid promo, I should probably redo this. Like,
Right.
I should, okay. I don't need to go into as much detail about, the Undercity and all of this. Like, I can just briefly talk about it. And, so I was like, it's still a big rework, so I ended up not doing it, but I might actually in the future just do one because surrounding that topic, because I think it is actually a pretty cool one and not a lot of people talk about it. And it's just interesting. Like,
well, it's like the steroids, the steroids of the gaming industry. Who's on it?
yeah, man. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. It's a very interesting question with a very interesting story behind it. Not a lot of people know it. I held nothing against Blizzard for it. I was like, it's not you guys' fault. It's, if anything, it was my management team's fault. Like, love those guys. I don't want to point fingers at them, but it's like the communication just didn't happen quick enough between, like, hey, we don't like this, and and all. There's a bunch of balls dropped along the way, but so big contract, unfortunately. But I was like, whatever, man, shit happens. I was like, I don't hold anything against you guys. Like, you guys did great. We'll try again next time. I'm honored you came to me. Like, thank you. So
fair enough.
No sweat.
So now you've spoken a bit about like Diablo Immortal video you've got, right, calling out its pay to win mechanics. What's your personal line on kind of in-game monetization? What do you think is fair for players and what's over the top? Because we're talking about Blizzard here in RMT, right? They literally have a game where like everything is real money. So what do you think is kind of too far and over the top?
You're getting into the heavy stuff, Max, asking these heavy questions, these controversial ones, if you will.
We're not even up to the controversial segment.
Oh shit, man. I was telling people this is like hot ones, hot questions with even hotter avatars. We're getting into it now. Yeah, man. Yeah, so first of all, I'll preface this by saying I probably have a different stance on money being exchanged in video games than most people do. And if you watch any of my videos, it's probably obvious, but like I don't mind when games are monetized in some way like that, especially surrounding itemization. However, two things. First of all, I know some people feel different than me. That's okay. Your opinion is just as valid as mine. Like, this is an opinion-based question. So, and people should know by now in the podcast, I don't push my ideas on Blizzard, even though sometimes I find myself in a spot where I can, like, so don't worry. But second of all, you have to do it right. There's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And when it comes to money being exchanged in video games for items in particular, I think the wrong way to do it is for the developer to make all the money. It's that simple. If your players are making money too, perfectly fine. Like, so to put it in the context of Diablo Immortal, right? Wadijo, for example, was he was showing off how good he could do without spending a dime in Diablo Immortal, and he was doing really well in the PvP arena. First of all, a lot of people talk shit about Diablo Immortal, and it did kind of catch the short end of the stick when it comes to coverage and all of this stuff. But it's a PvP focused game, which is really cool, and it's actually cool to see Blizzard doing that. The problem with Diablo Immortal is, if I quit and I say, all right, I'm done with Diablo Immortal, and I have all of these items that I spent maybe, let's say, thousands of dollars on, there is no way for me to even reasonably recoup that. I can't just sell it to somebody. I can't just JSP it, or that is bound to my account. There's no way to get my money back. Every single dollar that I spent went straight to the motherland company and is wasted. Right? Like, I have essentially, and since time is money, I've wasted my time with the game. But if instead, let's look at Diablo 2 for an example, there's no official system to buy items in the game. All of the monetary exchange that happens, or even non-monetary exchange with JSP or other trading sites or whatnot, is all outside the game. It all has nothing to do, but the players are the ones that are profiting from it. So you might have seen videos about, the $120,000 hammer in a recent video, or like the $17,000 axe. If ever sales are made for an item in Diablo 2, some of these are very real, like cash trades and auctions that people have set up in Discords and stuff. And how different does that game feel if you're a new player, you see that video and you realize that, holy shit, that item that I had no idea an item could, I didn't even pick those items up before. And suddenly you're telling me someone actually bought this for $17,000. Well, that adds a whole new feel to that game, right? Suddenly, if I quit and I want to sell my gear, I can recoup some of that. Like, I can actually, maybe I even make money. Maybe I've never spent a dime and I just sell the stuff that I found and I make money. Suddenly, I haven't wasted my time playing the game. That game doesn't feel like a waste of time, and all of the time and energy that I put into it. And perhaps it's even profitable. Speaking of which, Diablo 3, right? When the auction house was out in the very early days of it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the auction house, on its face, auction houses are an incredible idea in games. It's an incredible idea. The unfortunate thing with Diablo 3 was it wasn't done right. Right? Like, so it wasn't done right. It essentially, based on the way that the game was designed, created a paywall, which, to many Diablo players, that's where the term paywall originally came from. Was, that's the first time most Diablo players heard it, was Diablo 3 auction house. And the paywall was, if you wanted to farm Inferno difficulty, you needed to have certain items, but the only way to find those items was to farm Inferno difficulty for most players. Unless you were like top tier player, you weren't doing it. So your only option was to go on the auction house and buy something, spend your money and get the items that you need to start farming in Inferno difficulty, start, progressing. So because of that, and because of that sort of hang up, they created this probably unintentional paywall that sparked a whole bunch of shit in the early days of, of these things even happening, of these things even existing in a video game. And also in the days where the internet was prevalent, but it wasn't what it is today. You get opinions coming from all over the place. You don't know how to weight any of them. So they just shut it down. They just stopped it. But on its face, if you would just tell somebody that, take Diablo 3 out of it for a minute, right? And you say, I play this game, yeah, like, and there's an auction house and I just go around and farm things and I sell them for real money. Like, yeah, there's an auction house in game and I sell them and, I pay my rent with it, or I go out and maybe you don't make a lot. You make a few bucks here and there, but it's like, yeah, I find items and I sell them. Who isn't like, what game is this? Like, like, holy shit, what?
Yeah.
You're kidding me. Like, you play the game and you sell shit in the game from a AAA company, and sign me up. Where can I get this game? Right? Like, look, who in their right mind thinks that's a bad idea? Like, if it's done correctly and doesn't create sort of this, like, essentially pay to win paywall, if you do it right, it's on its face a very good concept.
Yeah, everybody was talking about it when it was like just first coming out and when it just came out. So when the auction house hasn't settled to, because people get very smart when it comes to these things. They want to push people out to a barrier where they can actually sell items themselves. So they don't want you to get like the good stuff, and they want you to have to buy something in order to get the good stuff so they can sell it. So they're going to go and quickly farm everything. This is especially, for any, like, there'll be literal businesses in China that do this. And I think that's where it really starts to go crazy. But I don't know if anyone's ever heard of a game called Entropia Universe.
Yeah, the
So
$6 million island.
yeah. So they have basically real estate, investments, an auction house, and a bank, and like stock exchange, all in a bloody video game. If you go like top
Crazy.
10 most expensive items ever sold in a game, Entropia has like 6 of them. The game is unfortunately quite empty these days. I was giving it a try, and the problem really is that the stronger you get in that game, the more you have to spend per hour. Like it's so backwards, dude. Because you're spending on bullets and shit, right? So like every time you shoot, if you're like really high level, it's like $5, and then you get back like, $4.50, and it just keeps ramping up. But I just thought that idea was just so crazy. And people who had like stores, so it's like GTA or something. People are role playing hardcore in GTA. They do as like police and all that, like Second Life, right? Basically, in Entropia, they have stores. You go in the store and you buy their clothes, and essentially you're buying like digital clothes that that person has designed for your character to wear for like $10, and then it's hedged with the USD. I think it was 1 to 10, and even from that, I was like, you see, all these games incorporating crypto, they all die because the crypto just dies, right? It plummets, the game goes with it. But if the developers just say $1 equals 10 in-game dollars, and we will stick to that, like Entropia does, you don't need crypto and all of this stuff, right? I just think crypto is like a wrapper of just additional rules and things you have to go through. But in reality, there's nothing really there. Even the blockchain is just a set of databases connected to each other that are constantly, basically checking that which one is correct and which one is wrong. It's I don't
Yeah.
really get it. So for me, it's like it's all about the rules, right? And
Yeah,
Entropia is
dude,
just
here's
such a good example.
it really is, man. I think that $6 million world, like the planet Calypso or whatever it's called, is by far the most expensive item that was sold in Entropia, like ever in any video game.
Yeah,
It's
and
it's such an interesting case.
it's because if you own the island, when people farm on the island, you like tax them, right? You get like 1% of everything everyone gets on the island, and then the island as well, the deed or whatever, can go up in price. It's like you're hoping that you can resell it later for more, and you can like naturally profit from it if there's lots of players. But if the player base tanks, then you're like, fuck, I just spent like 6 mil
Yeah.
on this bloody island, and
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
interesting.
Like it's very interesting. Like and I think Killer Ghost in the chat brings up a good point about bots taking over. And this is also something that with any time that you have a monetary incentive, um you're gonna have people trying to break it, right? You're
Yeah,
gonna have people
that's
trying
true.
to bot it, and I think people look at this all the wrong way. And so to go completely the other way with that, Killer Ghost, imagine a game where RMT is completely taken out, right? So imagine there's no value in anything, right? So essentially Diablo Immortal, right? Are we saying that's a perfect game? There's no let's say we took out the fact that you could pay for power, right? Is it a perfect game at that point? Like, I don't think many more people would play it. You know what I mean? I'm maybe some would, but at the same time, now let's go the other way with it, right? Let's look at Diablo 4. Let's take a step a little bit in the other direction, right? They restrict trade on some items. If you upgrade an item, you can't trade it, right? It no longer has any outside value because you can't get rid of it, right? But what can you trade? Gold, right? So now suddenly, since something can be traded, and it has there's a gold sink in the game, now gold's going to have value and people are going to pay money for it, right? So, okay, so what do we do? Let's make it so you can't trade gold. All right, now you've created another problem for the devs that like now you've created even less of a reason to even interact with other people, right? Like now you're just playing a single player game, take out all trading and everything. Now it's just a single player experience. All right. Great. All right. Now there's no value. No one's paying for anything. All right. Is that going to make you better at the game? Or is the only reason you're losing, or that you're not as good as someone else, like, are you now going to be as like the best person? Are you now going to be like, all right, now I'm top 10 because people who were paying for that gold, that was the one thing in my way.
It's an interesting way to put it because, I think PvP games get away with this, but even in any game, while we want like everything to be equal so it's fun and we just want to get away from the reality of money kind of rules the world. The reality is, even if you can't trade, people will buy and sell accounts. There will be ways that people are like, look, I'll pay you this much for you to just sit and farm on my account, and no matter what,
Yep.
like it's gonna happen.
Elon Musk, for
unfortunately.
example, right? Like,
Yeah, Elon Musk. There you go. It's a great
Yep.
example. He's basically paying a bunch of guys to get his character. Dude, we have on our website we have helpers, and basically Lilith is one of them that gives you information about a game. And I was showing racks, and what we do is we why it's like better than ChatGPT and Google's one is we check all the patch notes continuously, and we want to like inject things as well from runtime of the game through the overlay. But he asked who is the best Diablo 4 player, and it responded with Elon Musk. And we just could not stop laughing, and we were like, "Oh my god, dude!" And like, what a marketing!
this game
thing,
is
right?
definitely not pay to win, then, man. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
proof.
see?
Like,
We were like, "Oh my god!" Like, so he spent a bunch of money to get someone to farm up all this crap on his account, and it was just a massive like. It put him into the gaming world. Everyone was talking about it. It's actually a pretty
yeah.
interesting play, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's also a bit of a thing that a lot of people might not understand. It's not something that I necessarily believe myself, but this is what I've heard, which is that games that don't have some type of RMT in the background as an engine die very quickly.
I would
Apparently,
completely agree.
yeah, apparently, like behind the scenes, the RMT actually keeps games alive, and most of these companies like Blizzard, GGG, and all of that know it. So it's a really weird topic, but you can see how maybe that's true because, like, what Coooley is saying is a lot, especially adults, they want to find value in everything. Like younger people probably not so much, but an adult is going to be like, well, I've got a job, I've got kids, I want to play a game, but I don't want it to be a waste of my time. So by knowing that this item is something that I could maybe sell, that makes me feel better. So
Yeah.
what TCM actually is trying to do is we want to make it so there is no RMT that we're dealing with, but how can we make it valuable for people to spend time gaming? So maybe, and like this segment here is one of those ways because you can turn your gaming into a career like Coooley has, right? You can get a computer. You can learn how to build computers. We want to as well get members to start talking about like what tools do they want us to build, right, for them. So
Yeah.
like there's different ways to get value out of games, which goes beyond kind of selling items for money, because I think we'll never get involved in that, but we understand that it exists, and we want to find ways of how to give players value without the whole like getting into RMT. Because the problem with RMT as well is just it opens so many, like you call it the dark side, right? See, I don't want to be on the dark side of stuff, like,
I
opens doors.
only say that because like it's oftentimes like
Yeah.
for every person that feels the way I do, there's probably there's someone else that feels like, oh, money equals bad, money in games equals bad, like So that's why I say like it's the dark side because not a lot of people really talk about it. Like not a lot of people feel comfortable talking about it.
For sure. Okay, let's go back to like your content strategy. So I've noticed this, and your videos actually have a tendency to get views for longer periods of times than similar content creators in the space. For example, we might do like a sponsorship. We'll see 100K videos in the first week, and then that's it. There's no more views for that person, but yours actually tend to just continuously get views for a very long time. It's actually really interesting. So why do you think that is? Do you have any tips on how to make a video timeless?
Yeah, just tell a story. Tell a timeless story. So so a lot of times with creators in the ARPG genre, and there's no right or wrong way to, to put a video up there, and like for example, Rax and Wadijo will have a different style. Even Rob, like oftentimes they're going to release a build video that's pertinent for, a certain build in a season, right? And as soon as that season's done, there's no point to ever watch that video again. Right. But instead, if you tell a timeless story of the build instead, which does take a lot more time, right? Like you have to, if you think of it like, if this was the first video someone ever saw from me, what would they get out of it? Like, and imagine seeing a build video of Rax's like for, 10 years ago or something, right? Like it's obviously out of date. There's not a lot you can really get from it.
Yeah.
It might not apply to the new season, but just imagine how different it would be if that video, if instead of saying like, all right, here's the best build, this is how you got to build it and blah, blah, blah. Instead, if you say, I broke this season of Diablo 3 by building this class. And, during this season, like there was a trick where you could, these were your seasonal powers and I completely broke them. Even though the build is out of date, there's so much more when you tell a story and people get the same thing from it. You can still link your guide and, people are like, oh, wow, okay, I want to use this. If it's still pertinent, they can go to the guide and they can use it. But if you tell the story, it suddenly becomes rewatchable. If you make it funny, if you add some ups and downs and you kind of treat it like it's a movie, like you spent your time doing this and you kind of want to tell your experience, want to tell your story, they can always go back and watch it again. Like, whether it's entertaining, whether if the build is still pertinent, they can still get information from it. But even if it's not, if you make a good enough video and you tell a good enough story, it's suddenly not about the build. It's about your story with it. Right. So with the ladder climb that I did versus llama, right? Like in one of my recent videos, I could have easily just been like, all right, so this is the build that I took to, the number 2 necro spot, got number 15 in ladder overall. And this is how I built it. And like, you max poison nova, you max the synergies, you put one into lower resist and, there you go. And then you just gotta jam, you gotta grind, and you gotta do this. And there it is. Have fun in the next season. It's probably not going to change. People might still come back and watch the video because the builds don't change too much in D2. But how different of an experience is that when the first thing that you hear clicking on the video is like, the Necro is one of the worst classes that has ever climbed ladder. And you're like, wow, didn't know that. Okay, that's really cool. Can you prove that? Here are the finishes that it's got for the last 7 or 9 seasons or whatever. Like, wow, okay, Necro's a bad class. I'm going to take this build and I'm going to try to, make it great again. Well, holy shit, I might even be telling you about a build that you already know about, but it's not about the build. Like it's about the story and the ups and downs along the way. So what I try to do is just make some like evergreen rewatchable content so that like, you can say that I try to put with every video that I put out. I try to be like, I'm glad, the feeling I want to have is like, I'm glad someone did that. And I'm glad that someone was me. Like, like that was, what a cool story that was. Like, what a cool journey that was. I might have already known how to build a poison necro, but like, holy shit, you actually did it. Like you took it from, being the worst last place class to now it finished 3rd of all the classes in the season. Like that is an incredible story. And then you just tell about the build along the way. Like, this is what I did. And instead of saying, yep, what you want to do when you're in a dangerous terror zone is, you want to summon up minions. Instead, you show like the struggle, the competition with Llama. Like, you show Mr. Llama was ahead of me, but I was passing him. Unfortunately, he died in this terror zone. Cut to the clip. Llama's dying. What? I'm so confused, And then you say, but this is something that I had the answer for. Even if you know it, you kind of want to see what I did, right? Like you're like invested in this story, and it's so like, it's an interesting journey. And you're like, wow, he's summoning up minions. He's built his character with max block. So he's going into these same situations as Llama, and he's not even getting scathed at all. Like, he is a complete tank. Like, even if you knew how to do that already, the story and presenting it like that gives it rewatchability. So like, you know, maybe next season someone wants to build a necro. Oh shit, how did Coooley do it in that video? Let's go watch that again. And then they watch it. They love it. They watch the whole thing maybe because they're like, this was just a funny story. Like, this was awesome, man. Like, yep, okay, that's how you did it. Or maybe they're like, you know what? I friggin' loved that rap song that Coooley did at the end of that video to stunt on Llama. Like, that was friggin' hilarious. Like, I'm going to go back. Like, I just want to hear that again or something. Like, there's so much in it. Like, there's so much of an epic story behind it that it tends to, you know, it'll hopefully be timeless. Like, that's what I aim for with anything that I do. It's just that, like, that video could get suggested to you again, and it's like an episode of South Park where you're like, you know what? I've already seen the WoW episode of South Park, but holy shit, I gotta watch it again. Like, that was friggin' sick, you know. Like, and that's the feeling I try to go for with, like, when I put a video out to the fans of my channel. Is like, I want them to feel the care and like the passion that I put into it. I want them to like experience the story with me, instead of just being like, yep, this is the best build, or this is how to do this. Listen to me, I'm a content creator. Instead, it's just like, come along with the journey, you know, come along for the journey with me, man. Like, this will be fun.
That's so interesting, especially when you said, like, instead of saying, you know, for this build you need these 3 abilities, equip this sword, use this chest armor, you're like, well, I found this chest armor here, then I put this gem into it, then I equipped it, and I realized that this is the best thing to synergize with this weapon. So I equipped this weapon, but then I realized this one's actually better. Then I used these 3 skills, and then I went in and I started killing things, and I realized, wow, this is really a really good build. So it becomes more like a story rather than just equip this, do this, that's your build, here's the link. And you're right. Even for me, I've been trying to tell people, like, try your best not to give me a build video, right? Because you're gonna, for me, it's okay because we have like the monthly PC. So like, that's kind of what people probably want to take a look at. But in the end, I find, like, especially patch notes, it's like, if you miss the mark on the patch notes, that video is dead. You know, like,
Yep.
it's dead. So yeah, I really like your approach to stuff. All right.
Thanks, man. I try hard for it, man. Like, I've tried to master that over time. I'm a student of the game, is what I say. Like,
Yeah.
and I see YouTube as the game. I'm like, okay, that I want to do well here. And going back to what I said earlier, there's only really there's no simple solution. It's, you have to make good videos. People are coming onto the site to watch a video. Give them a good fucking video. Like, that's what they're tuning in for. Like, you know, and that's what it boils down to. And when you focus on the storytelling aspect of it, you make it entertaining, you make people laugh, maybe you make people cry, you know, you make them feel something from the video, and that is memorable. Like, that is something that hits.
Did you ever watch Pure Pwnage with, like, Jeremy and FPS Dog?
Oh, yeah, I think I did. Like, yep, way back in the day.
Yeah, ages ago, like,
Yep.
when WoW first came out, and like CS 1.6. That was so funny, man. Like, that, honestly, every time I'm now, because TCM is like, we're thinking of making a cartoon slowly, because people
Yep.
don't realize, but behind the scenes, the amount of crap that goes on related to TCM and, like, what is going on, like, on a weekly basis, it's a roller coaster. It's like up, down, cry, laugh, happy. And I just think, like, man, I'm in like some Pure Ownage type of thing at this point, honestly. Like, I feel like I'm Jeremy or something, and that shit was so funny. Me and my friends would
Dude, it's
just,
so
like,
good.
watch it. You know, it is like in the hospital, and there's the nurse, and she's like telling him stuff, and she leaves, and he's just like, find and log out, priest. Or, like, FPS Dog is at a tournament. he's like sweating. His computer just starts melting because he's fighting some like ultimate CS championship. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
so
yeah.
funny. So
Like there
many
was, I
memories.
mean, even when I did my D4 videos, I noticed quickly in the D4 sector that like I couldn't keep up with the rate at which other creators were putting out like updated guides and all of this. And I tried, but I noticed that for someone like me, if I want to maintain like the effort that I put into my videos, like what I have to do is tell the story, because even if they patch a build and it changes, my video still could be good on the old patch. You know what I mean? This could be a good one to watch and to listen to for those exact reasons.
Yeah.
It's like, it almost doesn't matter. It's like, it's kind of funny. It's like entertaining, you know. In some of my D4 videos, I was showing like PvP, and I would, you know, I'd make jokes and I'd just be like, you know, and some players had to find out how good this build was the hard way. And like, you know, you cut to like them getting PK'd with it. And like, it's just so different. Like it's a different feel. And that's what I want anyone who watches my videos. I want them to like feel the journey that I went on and what I put into it. I don't want to just be a talking head to tell you what to do. And, you know, it's harder to do that too. Cause like, you know, you have to build up credibility, and the second you put out a bad build, people are just shit talking your video and this is bad, this is, you know, and it's like you're constantly fighting that. You know, if you're like Rax, Woody, Rob, those guys put out good build guides all the time, and they've established themselves as like, you know, very intelligent, great players that will always, you can always trust their guides, you know what I mean? So it's like they kind of come with that. So that's why those will get like those initial hits. It's like you have a very trustworthy source. Their views go far beyond just the content that they put out. It goes right to their, you know, the character of who they are and what they've built up over time with trust with their viewers. But it can work in other ways too. If you build up the trust to be like, all right, guys, every time I put out a video, you're going to feel it. Like it's going to be a story. It's going to be super entertaining. And you're also going to get information from it that's pretty cool. Like that's also something you do, right? Like you gotta, you know, with them, they have to keep having the best builds and put that out. With me, I just have to sharpen my storytelling skills, and I have to be like, all right, how would my audience appreciate this? Like, what would be the funniest way to deliver this? How can I, you know, like, how can I make this really unique? Like, and they'll trust that I'll keep doing that.
And making those builds, especially the guys that are doing it on Maxroll, man. Maxroll is like really granular and so good for the user, like the person that's actually looking at the build. They can see everything like to, you know, perfect granularity. But man, like I can see it's hard to make a build there, and I can see the guys have to pump out like several per season. They're putting in a lot of effort. So props to anybody making like Maxroll builds as well, you know, seriously. I mean, Mobalytics,
It's
D4
a
builds
lot.
as well, but Maxroll is granular. It's granular, and there's like rules, you know. They want to have builds that are like at a high level. So I can see how much they put in, especially when a new season for something comes out. Like I can tell, you know, like the way they behave and speak changes just because they're under a lot of pressure. A lot of work is going into that stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and then every once in a while you'll have all the elements too. You'll like, you know, one of my favorite videos that I ever did was it was a video about the brawler barb, and I forget what it's called. It's like, now this is a barbarian or something like that. And it just so happened that no one was talking about the actual best barb build in Diablo 2. Everyone was like, yeah, Whirlwind, I got my Pit Zerker, and they weren't actually talking about what really is the best build. So in that case, it was great because all the factors are in line for a great video. No one's made it. Like, you know, no one's talking about it. No one really knows about it. D2 builds don't change much. So like, you know, that's going to be eternal. And I also told the story, like right away you're kicking in. Like I took a barb and made it look like a mosaic sin, just blowing up like, you know, everything in the throne room. Like, and you see me jetting off and like taking on mobs of monsters myself. And then like, you know, and if you build it right, it can do anything. And like, you know, you see it like whirlwinding like Ubers and taking them out. And then, you know, I cut into like saying like even taking down other players, and then just like cuts into this like clip of me going against Polytheist and surprising him with just like throwing shit at him and then telly stomping him. And it's just like, and you see the reaction of like me, of, you know, the music coming in, and it's like a feeling. it's not a build video. You know, it is like, and you'll learn something from it. You'll be like, all right, I'm going to save this because like this is a sick build. But also, it's just all the elements are in place for it to be like a timeless video.
Yeah. Even your necro build, so I tried it. It was like the melee necro with the it's like the full elemental resist. So you're basically immortal to everything because you just gain life every time you get hit. That was fun,
Yep.
man. I put that one together. Very interesting.
That's
All
awesome,
right.
man. I'm happy to hear that.
So, dude, we're just getting into community building. So I hope this isn't like I'm really enjoying this. I knew yesterday after speaking to you, like this is gonna be long and in depth. But
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I'm down.
it's all up to you. Like the questions are the questions, so it's up to you how you
Jam it,
like kind
man.
of extrapolate on it. All right. So, dude, you've got like quite the following, right? And you know, this is an important one for TCM because I think our team is really like artists and programmers, but none of us have really been that good at building communities. We're just starting to get into it with like events and, you know, trying to involve the community more in different things. But especially at the start, we really struggled with it. Like even our Discord is kind of like a friend of ours, Oxy, kind of like helped us with that, and we just kind of in the beginning really focused on building stuff that we think is best. Now we're shifting it to like let's just ask everyone else what they think we should build once we've got all the dots connected for the foundation. So do you have any strategies or tips or anything like how do you foster a positive community around something?
I think the biggest thing is consistency, like just passion and consistency. So like, and you know, you can't fake passion, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're really hyped up, like you guys make the most insane rigs, like computer rigs, and you know, give them away to like to supporters, and they're the most unique, one of a kind thing. Like, you know, no one else is gonna get that anywhere, and it's so crazy. And the fact that you're consistent with it, you know, like we're gonna do this once a month, and or you know, even if it's not, if it's like once every 3 months or whatnot, the consistency of it and the passion that goes behind it, like even putting together a video showing it off and all of this is just a great start, because eventually the thing you're most passionate about and most consistent with is what people will have trouble forgetting. That will always be the thing, right? To some people, I might be someone who makes Diablo videos on YouTube, but to a lot of other people, I'm the guy that runs the DFC. Like, you know what I mean? They know, because I've been so consistent with that, like for the last 4+ years. You know, it's like we try to do it every week. We have signups. We do it in a very similar way. And when I broadcast it, I get pretty passionate about it. I love dueling, and you can feel it, right? Like it's hard to fake it. And the passion and consistency, that's
Okay.
it. Like there's
Rax had a similar.
yeah, it's like the popularity of the DFC wasn't always what it is now. And, you know, I love seeing it grow. I love seeing new players come in and all of this. And it's like, you know, I question how much of that would be there if it wasn't consistent. Like if I was just like, oh yeah, we'll do it sometime. Like we'll do it, you know, but instead it's just every week, like here's how to do it. We're going to be here. We're going to do this, whether we got like 3 duelers or whether we've got 300, like this is what we're going to do. We're going to be here doing this. You know, and if it's a somebody who just joined the DFC, I'll have like that same level of intricate breakdown, you know. But you know, there's another facet of it as well, in the sense of eventually with the DFC in particular, it's not necessarily about me, right? Like it's not. I'm not saying, hey, tune into the DFC because I'm a really cool host and I'm, you know, I'll teach you something about PvP. Like, it's not necessarily about me. When someone tunes in and watches the DFC, the thing that they're going to hear me talk about a lot is other players. So we'll cut right in. We'll talk about the card, and I'll say, this is Muchez. Muchez is the current reigning defending champion. He had an incredible duel last week versus Toshank. By the skin of his teeth, he pulled it off. This guy's build is insane. Not only does he have perfect gear, but this guy has a perfect strategy for everybody that he goes up against. And like, I'm talking about the people in the community. It's not about me. It's not about, let me teach you about the game. It's about like recognizing and showing like this person has accomplished this, like, you know, and through all of what they've done in the DFC, they've done these things. If it's a new player, it's like, look at how incredible this guy's locks are. This guy's looking promising, you know. So it's that passion, it's the consistency, and I also think that the feeling of community that people get by being a part of it is something that I try to tell their stories. It's not necessarily about mine. You know, my YouTube videos are for my stories, and the DFC is for theirs.
Dude, I reckon Diablo 4 has so much potential in PvP that people are not realizing. Like, if you organize it properly, because you have the shards that you need to extract, kind of like, you know, Division or something, Dark Zone. And if you just organize it a bit, imagine, for example, 2 teams of 4, and you can see all the teams playing on the same dashboard, and they've like, you know, first team to extract 1,000 seeds wins or some shit like that. Like, you can go pretty damn cool with it, and I want to grab Blizzard's attention. I want to show Blizzard, like, guys, drop some updates for PvP in Diablo 4, because the main difference between Diablo 4, Diablo 2, Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2, and Last Epoch is a few fundamental things that the other games will never be able to do because of the way they're created. Number 1, world bosses. Okay? Focus on world bosses because no other game can do it, right?
Correct.
PvP. Yep. No other game has PvP. Make yours good.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly.
World events.
And that's sound advice. Very sound advice.
Raids.
Like they're all trying to be like each other right now, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And D4 has these special, like, laid down foundations that the other games will never be able to replicate. And I really think that if they just focus their strength there, it's like it becomes a whole new thing, you know? So,
dude, PvP in Diablo 4 for like season 0, season 1, even some of season 2, I loved it. I was like, this is insane. Like, this has a lot of potential. And I was like, man, I really hope they continue to update this and focus on it. And then, dude, I hate to say it, but it's like, you can start to see the D3 kind of creeping into it. Like, you know, it's all about the power of pits and, you know, which or greater rifts in D3, right? Like, they're kind of focusing on that. It's like, this has already been done, man. Like, you know, focus on this. And I've always said this, some people disagree with me, but, you know, some people truly understand where I'm coming from with it. And I say, if you balance your game around PvP, you won't have to balance it as much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, and that's because if you're balancing it against these ridiculous monsters and how fast you can blast through a pit, you're basing balance on a time limit. And you're like, oh, okay, well, this one can do it kind of this fast, and this one can do it this fast. But if instead you say, okay, flip that on its head. We're actually just going to do it. We're going to go to PvP, and we're going to say, all right, what skills does this class have, and how can it lock up another player? Is it one-shotting another player? What's unfair about this build? Is that how we want it to be? Do we want PvP to feel like that? If no, the skill is probably too powerful, right? Like, it needs to be nerfed. You nerf it once, you get it balanced, and you're like, okay, this is exactly how we want it, right? And then anything else that starts to creep up, you now have a baseline, and you're like, okay, well, this skill is just how we want it. Dude, this skill is, you know, and suddenly it's like, all right, okay, now we're fine tuning it, and now you can balance your game around that. You're like,
look at like League of Legends and Dota.
Must be too hard.
League of Legends and Dota, right? Technically, you have like 100 builds there because you have 4 and now like 6 spells if you're counting kind of the additionals, and you've got an inventory full of items, right? About 6 items, and you've got over 100 champions or heroes, and it's pretty balanced. And once you balance it in PvP, they're killing minions at around the same speed. They farm, like the CS farming, right? For a lot of champions and heroes based on their role is going to be like the same. Otherwise, it's underpowered. So if they can do it, why can't you do it as well and just have different minions, right? And focus more on having different types of minions. I totally agree with you, man. I know Warframe had like decent PvP and stuff, and then they like split it into 2. This is what I hate the most, when your character functions completely differently in PvE and PvP. I reckon at that point, that's it. You've just deleted either PvE or PvP. One of them's gone because let's say Overwatch, right? They were like, oh, it's PvP, now we're adding PvE. Did it work? No. Why? Because you're splitting it. Your characters everything's functioning differently, right? So
Well, to some degree, right? Because when you're playing up against a player, they have the option to, unlike a monster, respond to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So for example, if you look at PvP in Diablo 2, a Poison Nova Necro is incredible in PvM. It's the top tier Necro build that you can run. You can do it in PvP, and you might be able to surprise somebody with a first kill with Poison Nova. They get hit, they're like, shit, I'm dead. But they're going to go back to their stash and they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to put on, all of my poison length reduced gear. I'm going to up my poison res. I'm going to stack it for when they lower res me. And next time they hit me, I'm not going to die. And then I'm going to punish them for it. Like, and these guys are just sitting ducks now. Or if you're playing up against a trapper, that's also very effective in PvM, very effective in PvP, but people can sorb it. They can, they can respond to it. So like to some degree, yes. Like if all else being equal, like the skill is good in PvM, but against an unprepared player in PvP, it sucks. Something's probably not right, about the game. But that's I guess I was just wanted to insert the X factor there of like players can respond even in D4. They can respond to like what you're doing, and adapt their build accordingly.
100%. Like in our championship, we know like Flame Shield overpowered, right? Especially before the nerfs, because you can just keep using it. Okay, in PvE,
that was so bad.
What was overpowered? The Flame Shield. It's the same shit, right? It's OP in PvP. It's probably OP in PvE. But like the opposite doesn't really work, because what was this season? You have glass cannon sorcerers that die in one shot, but if they dodge everything, they can go the fastest, they can go the hardest. Is that really fun? Does that mean if you want to play a tank or something like that, you're just like, you're going to pit 80 and that's all you can do and it takes half an hour? So it's, I totally agree with you, man. And I think that's, and what is actually
and like the dodging
rewards?
aspect too? Yeah, like the dodging aspect too, I think is pretty lazy. Like anyone who plays Diablo 2, if you've ever gone up into Bloodmoor against an Amazon and you've had them dodge, avoid, evade your attacks, it's so annoying. And it's like, here I am trying to land a very precise hit, and then just based on some stupid mechanic of your build, you just don't take any damage from it. And like, it's just ridiculous. I think it's very lazy. And like, it's a very, like, if it doesn't feel good in PvP, it's probably not a good game mechanic in PvM either. Like, if you have to dodge your attacks in PvM so that you don't get one shot, perhaps something else is wrong. Like, perhaps the monsters might be a little overclocked and you're basing it on some other build that you should have never based it on, like all your balance. Like, it's crazy. Like, but I think you hit the nail on the head of like, if instead you focus on the strengths that D4 has right now over every single other modern ARPG that's out there right now, it is hands down PvP. Like, if I was running the show at D4, it would be all hands on deck. Season 12 or whatever would be, this is our PvP season, guys. We're going to lose some people. That would be amazing. But you know what? Like, we're actually going to balance PvP. We're going to give more arenas. We're going to have areas of the world where, like, there's no mission, but if you step into them, there's high rewards and you can get killed by other players. That's just how it is. You got to watch out. Like, you can do quests here. You can do whatever.
The seeds, I thought was like, oh my god, this is going to be so good. It was like half the reason I played. And then you just like go to the vendor and you're like, what the hell is this shit? Like, you're giving me like a horse worse than the standard horse and some voice.
It's
like,
crazy.
What are these rewards?
Dude, just imagine in D4 right now, simple change that could make it so that PvP is actually valuable. If all of the items that you gambled off those vendors cost like maybe a fraction of what they already do, right? Like, so when you go and gamble your seeds at the vendors, which essentially has taken the place of obols, like if you go and gamble those, if instead of 3,000 seeds, it was just like 100 or something, like 150 maybe. Holy shit, people will be in the PvP arenas gearing up their characters. Like, you know, it's
But I think the PvE
simple.
players are scared of like they don't want the PvP to be the best way to get gear, and I don't think it needs to be. I think it can be like 70% of the way to like compared to PvE, and people will do it because honestly, the people that find it funner, they'll take that 30% hit any day, right? I will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that's the thing, man. Is like I think that if you with any end game activity, whether it's PvP or otherwise, and Blizzard knows this, you can see it in their updates for D4. If you incentivize the activity, people will go to it. And like, so the simplest thing to do with PvP right now in Diablo 4, it's right in front of your face. Just lower the cost of the gambling. Make it so that it's basically like Obel gambling and it costs way less. Like it's still not going to necessarily be the one and only way to gear up, but what a friggin' reward that is. Yeah. Like you go out, you cleanse the seeds, and you get like 30 gambles or something just from one run, just from one time of killing the seething aberration. One time killing them, I get like, 30 gambles. Like, all right, sweet. Like this is going to be great.
And drop like a mega seed where like when you get that, you're like, oh shit, I got to extract this. And it goes up on the map like, player X has mega seed. Everybody's like, fuck, we're gonna hunt him down quick. That only comes like once a day,
Like, yep. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, there's so much that could be put into it. And then as soon as you start incentivizing that, people will start doing it. The more people start doing it, then you're gonna have content creators being like, man, this is a great way to play and a great way to gear up, but this friggin' sorceress with energy shield, with mana shield, I just can't kill him. Why is the point of playing in this area? I can't kill. Then they fix the mana shield, and it's like, okay, yep, you're right, that is broken. Like, yep, all right, now, hey, my sorceress can't survive anything but one shot. I get one shot in PVM, I get one shot in PvP. Okay, maybe like, all right, we fix a block chance on a sorceress or something, or like, add some sort of added survivability that isn't complete fucking immunity. Like, and
100%.
Suddenly you start balancing the game.
The Immortal Sork with the energy shield in PvP is also going to be standing in front of Lilith, taking 0 damage, just face rolling every boss or whatever it wants. It's the same.
Yep.
All right.
I did a short about that, man. I did a short about the energy shield sorceress in D4. I was just like, Blizzard might have screwed up this season, and I was like, but I'm not going to abuse that. I was like, I'm just going to achieve one of the hardest achievements in the entire game with it before they patch it. And then like, so going back to like evergreen stuff, you could watch that short and be like amused by it, even though that's no longer a thing. Right. Like, so funny either way.
The Diablo community can be salty at times. How do you keep a friendly atmosphere? Do you have rules for chat or mods to keep toxicity down, which I could use to discipline my children?
That's a great question. Yeah, it can be, man. Like, it can be pretty toxic. I was actually afraid of that when I started streaming because I knew that I was a PvP player, and I was like, man, I know some people in PvP, and I sure as hell don't want to see them in my stream. And like, it's I don't want that to take over and dictate. But one of the biggest lessons that I learned in streaming was that you get the energy you put out, and you get the energy you put up with. Right? So like if someone comes in your stream and they're constant negativity, like so when I'm running the DFC, sometimes people will talk shit about other people. This is boring. Let's go. This is stupid or whatnot. And I'll just time them out. I don't address it. I time them out, or like the mods will time them out to let them know, like, when you come into the chat, don't start talking shit about the people that are actually getting up here and dueling, right? It's no longer about me. You're talking shit about these other people, and like they're actually putting their time forth, going up on camera here and volunteering their time, right? So suddenly that person comes back in and they're like, okay, don't talk shit and and all of this. But so there's always like the timeouts and the bans or whatnot from the people that are overly toxic. But here's the other thing too, is that if you remember that people are dialing in for entertainment, there's a certain level of toxicity that you can feed off from, right? And like when you take that energy and you turn it into something else, like it suddenly becomes like entertaining, right?
Yeah,
And you know, it's
Rolling.
part of the show. Like so for example, I remember one time I was in the stream where I was dueling Llama in the DFC and I beat him on my Paladin. We had someone come into the chat, and they were, when they talk shit about me, it's fine, because I'm like, look, this is what I signed up for, man. Talk all the shit you want about me. I really don't care. It's like I'm kind of impervious to a lot of the shit talk. You know, you're in character when you're streaming and stuff. Like you know, I'm like, whatever, talk all the shit. Like that's fine. Someone came into the chat because here was my strategy versus Mr. Llama, right? He was on a Necro, I was on a Hammerden. He has the clear class advantage. He wins that duel all day. Like, you know, it's not in my advantage. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna surprise him with shit that he's probably not gonna see coming. So I went to my stash, I grabbed a Widowmaker, which is a bow, and I put a whole bunch of poison charms in my inventory. So I shot him with poison, even though I'm a Hammerden that's supposed to close the distance on him. I shot him with poison from across the map. He was not prepared for it. He didn't have any poison resist, and he just got wonned right away. And that's like, so I telly up on him and I just cast FOH and kill him. And like someone from the chat was just like, you only use poison because you don't have any skill or whatnot, or like it's so cheesy. Like you hide behind the fact that you don't have any skill by using poison or whatnot. So I see that, and instead of getting upset, like, you know, and being like, oh, well, screw this guy, it's so toxic. Instead, you know, I was just like, what do you mean? I was like, it's so hard to use poison skills. You know how easy, I was like, you know how easy hammers are? You know how easy it is closing the distance on someone like Mr. Llama and throwing a hammer in his face? I was like, that's the real cheese. So the next duel, I go in and just shit stomp Llama with straight hammers. Like, I actually played really well and like fucking shit stomped him with hammers. And then I go back and I was like, you fucking see? I was like, I'm not going to cheese him like that. And then I just go like immediately back to the bow where I'm shooting poison, which is clearly the cheesy thing to do.
He doesn't know what you're doing.
Yeah. And so like you feed off of that, and suddenly it's just like, you're kind of, the person hasn't rocked you with their comment. They've just given you more fuel to like make more entertainment, you know? And so then viewers see that and they're like, that was fucking hilarious. They know the truth. They know it is cheesy. Like they know, but instead of, you know, you get the energy that you put out. So then when people see that, the tone of your stream hasn't changed to like, nah, man, I'm good with hammers. And like, well, whatever, like I don't have a good matchup here, so I'm going to use my bow. Like, you know, he could do that. And suddenly like the tone of your stream is different, you know, instead of like, what do you mean? And then you go and smash him with hammers and be like, see, no, that's cheesy. Like that's, you know, instead it's like, okay, this is the energy that I signed up for. Like, this is why I'm here. Like that was hilarious. He clearly knows he's being cheesy and he's just like, you know, he's just owning it.
Yeah. Have you ever, like, at least back in the day when MMORPGs were huge, right? Have you ever sat in like a general chat and just trolled like all day?
Me personally, no. Like trolled someone else in chat.
Just like, you know, like I'm talking like WoW Baron's chat.
Have you? Oh no.
No. Okay, all right. You're not a big MMORPG player back in the day.
I wasn't, man. I actually never played WoW, and the reason I didn't play WoW is because I knew I would probably get addicted to it. I would be like the Asmongold up in there, like straight PvP. I would no life the shit out of it. As soon as it came out, I was like, I have to stay away from this game. I was already into Diablo 2, and that was like sucking up enough time. And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is gonna suck up my entire life. So like, I purposely dodged it.
Kilo goes, yeah, it's true what you're saying. Like, it's in the name, right? Action role-playing game. So the game is more about like role-playing, and you go through campaign and everything. But yeah, it depends like what you want to sprinkle into the game and kind of like what you appreciate. Diablo 2 for sure, right? Internet cafe, kind of like 15 years ago, and there's people there PKing each other in the internet cafe. That's kind of how I remember a lot of D2.
Yeah.
In the classic one, but I definitely see where you're coming from. Like,
it's a fair point, and Killer Ghost, you're not alone. I think there's other people that feel the same way, and they're like, PvP but doesn't belong in ARPGs. It's about like immersing yourself in, you know, in the game, playing a role, having a part to play in a party or whatnot. But then I will say I respectfully disagree with it. I think that PvP has crept its way into being the main focus in a lot of ARPGs, whether it's actual player versus player, or whether it's people competing to climb a ladder, or whether it's people competing for a top time clearing a pit. That's all kind of PvP.
True.
Like you're actually going up against other players in some
like
way.
right now
yeah.
in our community, people are like, "Oh, I just want the ladder to come out. I just want the ladder to come out," and that is PvP if you really think about it, right? It's kind of like a running race, which is human versus human running. So
Right.
yeah, I guess it all depends on how you see it, but it's true to say, for example, Path of Exile kind of ditched it. Last Epoch didn't even bother with it. Every time they try something these days with Diablo, it kind of just gets left on the side. So definitely a lot of people, I would say the majority of people would definitely agree with what Killer Ghost is saying. I just like what the possibilities in D4 could be, and it could be explored, especially because it's one of the only ones that has it now. So
right, and it's not to say don't confuse it by saying that the whole focus, and I guess if that's what you think I meant by saying that the whole focus of the game should be PvP. That's not what I'm saying. Like the PvP should be a very acceptable and celebrated end game that players have the option to do. And my argument is that if you base your game balance around PvP, you won't have to balance your game as much. It's not to say that you shouldn't focus on the balance of a pit clear or whatnot. That should also be taken into account, but it should start with PvP. Like, because you have a baseline. It's like, this is what it looks like to other classes. So if people can't beat this tier of pit or this monster, we already know that, let's assume that they've fleshed it out and PvP is perfectly balanced. They're like, we already know that these characters all have their own unique tricks that can get them there and that are effective. So what's wrong with the monster, right? Like what's wrong with the situation and what's making this difficult? Okay, the resist is too high. There's no way to, there's nothing that players can do to smash their way through this part because you're running into a random monster that does this every once in a while. So instead of like basing it on a time limit of, okay, well, this one can clear it this fast and this one can clear it this fast. Instead, if you get your PvP balance, you can suddenly look at the rest of the game and say, all right, let's make the journey and the PVM, the PvE aspect of this, let's make it more in line so that players do have options. They can go PvP. They can try out this new end game content. They can clear the pit. They can trade. They can do whatever. You can pick a million end game things to do. But if you have some solid point where you know that it's balanced, you can use that as a great starting point.
Yeah, and if you just forget about PvP for a second, doesn't it make sense to test side by side the characters? Like, okay, the Sork is shooting a fireball that's doing 1,000,000 damage. The Necro is shooting a Bone Spear that's doing 10 million damage, and he's shooting it 10 times as fast, and he's shooting 3 of them. Like, okay, maybe, like, shouldn't you test it right then and there rather than say, all right, let's go test it on the boss? Because you've got different bosses, different mechanics, different mobs. So the Necro might excel on this one and be worse at that one. But there's so many different variations that the easiest way to really actually compare them is just side by side. Like I was happy when they just brought out the bloody test dummy. Although I think it should like declare your DPS very, concretely. This is your DPS for the last minute. Then you can actually tell.
That would be insane. Yeah, I think it's great. And the other important piece of that is, not only testing it against other players and side by side, but also one of the key components is what can your opponent do about it? Right? Like that's the big thing. So like, okay, yep, now you're doing just as much damage. However, your fireball, when I put on my fire resist or my increased maximum fire res gear, you're not doing shit. But my magic damage spell that can't be resisted might do it's technically less damage, but there's nothing you can do about it. And it's so fast and precise, and suddenly not all spells have to do the same amount of damage. Like that fireball might need to do more damage, than your magic spell, because monsters and players can do something about it. There's mechanics in the game that can spawn that just make that fireball do less damage.
I mean, I would
there you go,
argue
you know?
that a simulation between two classes that just literally kill each other over and over again a million times, and eventually when you get it like 50-50, would probably be very balanced in PvE.
I would agree. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So what about like favorite moments interacting with the community? Do you have any memorable fan art that was made, a surprise reaction, or just something like heartwarming that stuck with you?
Oh man, yeah, dude. One that stands right out, man. This was holy shit, almost brought a tear to my eye, man. There's this guy named Viking, and he was a big fan of, he would watch my streams and watch the DFC and all of this. And he had a kid. I think his age, he was probably like 9 or 10 or something. And he posted a picture in my Discord, and his 9 or 10 year old was watching Coooley, like the Coooley stream, and I gave him a shout out because his dad told me it was his birthday, and I was like, all right, man, gave a special shout out to him, and he sent me a picture after with him opening his presents, and he was wearing shades like me, and I was like, wow, dude, like that was touching, man. I was like,
That's nice.
because you get up there, you're just a streamer, you're just making content, you're doing your thing, and you don't really ever think that.
Is it still around?
Really cares. The internet doesn't care about it. Oh yeah. I think I have the photo posted somewhere. I might have posted it to my Facebook or something, but it's.
I mean, like,
does he still somewhere from like?
Does he still come like?
Yeah,
watch
he pops
stuff?
in every once in a while. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
nice,
He'll
nice.
still pop in every once in a while. I'll be like, hey, remember me? I'm like, like how could I forget, man? How's the kiddo doing? Like,
Dude, I wear glasses as well. I probably like look really weird in the office when I just go to my normal job. Um, I wear a suit. I ride an electric skateboard to work. I have that like mustache with the two tips, and I wear these red glasses because what happened is I was on the computer so much. Like the first reason I would stop working is my eyes are tired. So I started getting those like blue screen protective glasses, and I was like, shit, these things work. So I got the yellow ones, and I'm like, man, my eyes are barely getting tired. So I went to the optometrist, and I'm like, look, I need like 100% screen protection. I need like blue screen protection and make the lenses red as well. So it's like crimson, right? And then basically I walk around with these red glasses. And every time I thought first, like, I can't do this. I can't go to a professional environment looking like this, can I? Right? But now, dude, it helps me network with people. Like the moment they meet me, straight away they're just complimenting me on the glasses, all this stuff. They're like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Yeah, they got like
and they
blue light and
remember
UV
it.
protection." Yeah, and they remember it. It's like it becomes a part of your brand, right? It's a total thing. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
that's crazy, man.
I mean, if you could choose one social media, we already know the answer to this one, I think, right? Like,
Yeah,
if
all
you could
right.
choose,
All right.
I'll write it down.
Yep.
What's the point? Just believe me, all right? I have the answer in my head, but if you could
Right.
choose one social media platform or streaming platform and could not use the rest at all, which one would you choose and why?
All right. Which one do you think it is?
YouTube.
Oh, easy, yeah, easy YouTube, yeah. Like it's, yeah. I think we talked about this earlier. It's like
Yeah,
if you,
yeah.
it really leads there, and any of the, any other streamer too. Like I think Rax had mentioned this in one of his videos, talking about his kind of up and coming, and it was that he was streaming on Twitch, and he didn't really he wasn't really fired up about starting a YouTube channel, but as soon as he did, and he started posting, some of the guides that people were asking for in his Twitch chat, it drove so many more people to his Twitch stream. They were like, wow, okay, this is a guy that I want to watch. The discoverability on YouTube, I think, is incredible. Like it's just, for whatever reason, the best way that people learn about streamers, content creators, and all of this, especially in our genre. But
Yeah.
additionally, there's so many other things. Like, if you really take it seriously and you really put a lot of effort and you try your best to make every video good, like if you try to be a try hard like me and just make a good video, like that can also lead to other really good things, so but most importantly, it's people coming back and being like, this is a Coooley video, I gotta watch it. Like I know this is gonna be worth my time. Like this is gonna be epic. So
100%.
yeah,
I just
you nailed
noticed
it, man. You knew it.
JST popped in here as well. So JST and Killer Ghost are like kind of our favorite supporters here. He's got the gold little lucky devil. I don't know if you can see, like, all the subs have the little devil. I'm actually
Yep, I
looking
see it.
here. I want to. Why is this? That's so weird. I don't have. Oh, here we go. I actually want to give Killer Ghost. I want to rank him up. I think he should
Killer
be the
Ghost
gold.
ranked up, man. Easy.
He should.
Yeah, easy dub, man. Good contributions in the to the conversation too.
Just trying to find him here. Is that him? I don't know why, man, but the gifting.
Gifting
Not
is a little
available
wonky.
for this user doesn't make sense. All right. Oh, it's because I was on tier 1. I'll do it soon. Let's just
We're gonna
keep
rank you
going
up,
here.
man. We're gonna rank you up.
Yeah, we're gonna rank him up. Oh, he's gifting.
Oh,
again.
look at
Okay.
this, dude.
Yeah, let's
Speaking
just
of
do it
gifts.
now. I saw the problem, so it was like.
Hell yeah, man. VIP status.
It still says not available for this user. I don't understand. Are you able to gift it to him?
See, so hold on. How do I do this? Killer Ghost. And then
Or is it like when you're subbed, you can't be gifted a sub, like you can't get tiered up? Honestly, I don't even know. I haven't been on Twitch for that long.
so what do I click? Gifter leader 1. Is that what I click? Or what do I hold on, how do I do this? Oh no, it doesn't let me do it. Can't gift a
So
sub.
weird. But do you know, like, if somebody's already subbed, can you not tier them up?
Oh, I don't know that.